My name is Aileen Brannan. We're standing in the sitting room of our house. We bought the plot of land. We discussed what we would like. We then talked with the architects. We created this really, I think, very unique house with a lot of assistance from, family as well had input into what we were going to have. And we've created this house with the architect's help that we absolutely love. We were in a family house down in Buxton with a lot of bedrooms, a lot of and a huge garden at the back, and we wanted accommodation that would give us the ability to stay comfortably, independently for as long and whatever. We wanted to build a house that we could grow old in comfortably. First of all, we wanted to have a double garage. I know that we wanted to be able to drive into the garage, come into the house and move through the house freely, easily from there. And we wanted to build a house that was very easy to maintain and it was very comfortable. We wanted a warm house. We wanted a house that had a lot of light. We wanted to maximise the views that we have of the Pentland Hills around us. And everything had to be here because it served a purpose. I'm not into having things just for the sake of having them. Everything has a practical use. So the house was really developed so that it was the best that we could have and that we could live the most comfortably in. The centre living kitchen area, that was exactly what we wanted. And that has proved to be where we spend most of our time. It's incredibly comfortable. And it means that we can look outside both sides. We can get outside very easily. The other one, of course, is the roof terrace, which we've enjoyed very much more than we thought we would, actually. Even through the winter, we sat out. And that was another good development we had.
My name is Alistair Campbell. I'm the client. We bought this house about 4 years ago now with a view to changing it because what we loved was the garden. And so here we are in what is a fantastic piece of architecture and a very nice place to live in as well. Very tranquil, peaceful and beautiful. So my family already has connections with Asia because my grandparents were medical missionaries in India. And my father was a professor there. And so there's always been that sense of Asia as somewhere that is part of the family in a way. And then I've worked overseas quite a bit, but for 10 years in Singapore, which of course is fascinating, multicultural, both Chinese, Malay, and Indian all together in that one place. So these influences definitely played into it. Undoubtedly, it's the sense of no barrier between inside and outside. It's a sense of a continuity between being in the building and being in the grounds. So this it starts with coming in the main door off the street. You're in a corridor that immediately is open to the front garden. And then in the house with the massive windows and sliding glass doors, you just have this sense of a complete oneness between the inside and the outside. And I think that, to me, has been hugely successful because you can watch the changing scenes, you can watch the seasons, the changing views, the light, the way the light changes. So the back of the house is a south aspect, and we have the sun coming around, affecting the plants in different ways. So that, to me, would be I think there are many things in the house that we love, but I think this is perhaps the top one.
I'm Ben Addy. I'm director at Moxon Architects. The project we're talking about today is Coldrack, which is a private residential project that we completed last year. It's part restoration and conversion of a ruined Button Ben. The site's extraordinary. It's got absolutely amazing views across to Loch Nagar, and then it's flanked by a hill called Craig Nordy, which is a triple SI covered in aspens and birch. Looks absolutely extraordinary in autumn in particular. We were keen to obviously situate the building in the landscape and not sort of dominate the landscape in any way. But at the same time, we were keen to bring the landscape into the building as much as possible. So between the old part of the building and the new part, we have this courtyard which faces west and creates a kind of a sheltered microclimate, if you like. The new part of the building actually opens up completely. There are 3 very large sliding doors that open the whole elevation onto the courtyard, so you can stroll from inside to outside. Now, that might seem a slightly peculiar thing to do up in the Cairngorms, because in winter it gets down to sort of minus 15, minus 17 degrees centigrade fairly frequently. But because we've created that courtyard, because we've provided that shelter, it's actually a very usable space. And the client's very keen on getting out into the outdoors. She's a very keen hill runner. Well, I think because we were extending an existing building, we looked to that existing building for our cues, if you like. I think it was 19th century Button Ben, the sort of archetypical house of the Highlands, if you like, with front door and 2 windows either side. So these buildings were never really designed as such. They kind of evolved, although they do have quite classical proportions. They're quite sort of intelligent buildings in that sense, but they never saw an architect. They rarely saw a master builder. That was kind of our starting point. We were very keen, even though we're architects, we were very keen to look at the new part and how that could also follow a sort of a vernacular approach. I think for me as an architect, one of the loveliest things about the building, and it was a bit of a surprise, is how the profiled metal that we've used, we've painted it red oxide, which is quite a traditional finish for crinkly tin, if you like. But what's particularly lovely is at certain times of day, particularly in the evening and early morning, that red oxide is really, really sort of vibrant, and it's quite unexpected to see something as bold, if you like, in this kind of landscape.
My name's Tricia MacDonald. We're standing in our new build house, which, well, it was a very gradual process because we weren't originally intending to completely rebuild, but force of circumstances meant that it became a much bigger project than we had originally intended. So throughout the build, there were challenges to be met, but Matthew, our architect, and Paul, the contractor, between the 3 of us, we met most of those challenges, and what we've ended up with is a warm, secure house that will suit us for very many years, future-proofed. I think my biggest delight was having knocked down walls which were almost a metre thick. We then acquired some extra space which I could make into a dressing room, and most people that come say, "Oh, I wish I had a dressing room." And they look, and that hadn't been on the original plan, but because we had gained this extra space, that's something that I use every day, and every day you're thinking, oh, this works really well. Never very interested in birds, but it is interesting. They come and they go, and we've got the book there of bird books so we can identify some of them, but it is very interesting. There's a lot of traffic on the road outside, but we don't hear it, so that's not an issue. And the beach is actually very quiet. A sunny day, yes, it's quite busy along at the harbour, but at our end, there's very little in the way of people on the beach. Dog walkers, we know most of the dogs quite intimately, the different dogs that walk on the beach. That's always interesting. But basically, it's us looking out is a great view. Originally, the whole focus was on the courtyard at the front, and all the windows were to the front with just a small sea view. But now it's almost completely turned around, and we've got a terrific sea view that we didn't have before. And so that part of the brief has certainly been extremely well met.
My name's Alan Dixon. I'm the architect of the Corrie Church project. We were approached many years ago now to find a site for our clients who wanted to create a base for their extended family to visit and ultimately to live in. The site we found was an old church in Torridon, which had fallen into disrepair and had been abandoned. The challenge with the project was to turn a church, which is naturally quite an internally focused space, into an externally focused building, and also add the various parts to it to create what would be a suitable family home for them. The church building itself, we made one major alteration, which was to be quite brutal to the facade, which we literally cut away a large section, which opened up amazing views to the water and to the mountains beyond. I think the building's a collage, something that we're very affectionate of in Highlands architecture is these old buildings that have grown over time and have accumulated different parts, almost in an ad hoc fashion. There's some images that we've collected over the years of quite incongruous extensions sometimes, but they're very authentic and very honest. So the parts of this building pick up to a degree in that history, and the materials that they're made from are entirely authentic. It's a kind of approach that what you see is what you get. So you see the stone, the slate, the zinc cladding, the new stone wall, the turf. They're all absolutely authentic materials, and they're all very substantial materials in terms of the climate that we have.
Well, my name's Frida Blackwood, and I built this house. And so I got a friend, well, he's really somebody I knew, John Murray, our local architect, to come and have a look at this derelict garden and see if he thought it'd be possible to build a house on it. And that was how it all began, Lane's End. Well, it's completely hidden, it's completely private. It's a wonderful haven for birds, as you can see. I've had a hedgehog, because when the gate was built, John said, "What height do you want the gate off the ground?" And I said, "Hedgehog height." And lo and behold, I've had a hedgehog living in the woodshed already. Well, it's nearly a north light, and if you're painting or working, it's good to have north light. There is perhaps more light than anybody needs. There's an awful lot of Velux windows upstairs. But lovely views, as you can see to the north, over Drumlanrig Estate. You can see the Drumlanrig trees. And I really did want to have the feeling of my old house, but much more open plan. And that's actually what we've got, is that all the furniture and everything is in the same places as it was in the old house. And so that was very straightforward, the design stage, because John was very empathetic and understanding of what I wanted. But it's just magical living here. It really is. I think it's the most wonderful place, and I hope other people who come are surprised to find this kind of hidden magic space. Just look out the window. It's just lovely.
I'm Anne Nisbet, and I'm the architect of New House of Auchengree. I really like the fact that it's a contemporary building, but it's sited in the landscape as if it's a traditional building, and the form and proportions of the building emulate those that you see in North Ayrshire farm buildings. So the building was designed to facilitate outdoor living so that the clients could spend more time outside. The site itself is quite windy because it's at the top of a hill, so part of the design considerations had to be about how to make outdoor living more comfortable. And the building was then broken down into clusters which formed outdoor spaces that were protected from the wind, and in some spaces protected from the rain. And this was because Mike and Sally, the clients, are very outdoors. They do running, they do cycling, they spend a lot of time outdoors, and we wanted to make sure that they could spend as much time outside around their building as they did in the building. And they've just got these amazing wide views of the North Ayrshire landscape. To the southwest, they've got agricultural views that extend down the Garnock Valley and all the way to Arran. On a clear day, you can see Goatfell. On the rear of the building, you have more woodland. It's a very different type of landscape, and we wanted the building to capture both sides. We also wanted the building to capture both the wide, impressive views and small snippets of other views. So within the building, we've framed, certain elements of perhaps the ruins that are on site, or one of the lovely trees from the former new house building that was here, so that you have a difference, a real mixture of views and capturing interesting pieces of the landscape.
I'm Jill Smith. I'm project architect for the Tin House, along with Alan Dixon, my husband. Together we were client, architects and contractor for the project. So it was quite unusual from that point of view. The house was designed as a second house with a purpose, which was to let out. Key thing from that point of view with the house was that it had to be really very simple. It had to be cost effective. It sits alongside our house, so the two houses together had to make sense. This is what visitors say about this place. They find it very calming. Now, some of that is to do with the fact that we have this amazing view out the window. They've described it almost like being in a boat and looking out this long strip window to the sea and to the horizon, as feeling like you're floating on the hill and looking out onto the water. One of the most common comments is that we have fallen in love with this house. And I think really a lot of that is to do with the passion that went into the detailing of the house. The detail, the amount of thinking and care that went into the detailing of the house. People notice that. And there's lots of little touches, for example, in the bathroom door, there's a hole in the sliding door that allows you to slide it. And we have a little dowel that goes into that allows you to lock it from the inside. And we painted the outside of that red for engaged. So there's little fun things like that you discover through spending time in the house and that are not apparent at first. However, you do get that wow factor when you come into the space. But beyond the wow factor, there's lots of little kind of really cool things to discover as you get to know the house.